right, thank you all so much for saying hello. It's always exciting to see where in the world you are joining us from. Right now in Washington, D.C., it is 2:35 in the afternoon, so it's a nice midday chat for us, but we are glad you all are having a good time at 3:30 in the morning from Japan, so welcome. Thank you so much for staying up late to hear this important Abroad at AU information. We are going to get started with some introductions. Here we go. Okay. So we will say hello and introduce ourselves and then get started with our presentation.
Just as a reminder, as Desiree said earlier, if you have questions, please put them in the chat function on the left-hand side of your screen. It should be on the left-hand side. We see it on the left-hand side. Do not ask a question directly to us. It doesn't come up on our screen. So put it out there in the general chat function. That will help so much for us and be able to answer your questions easier. All right. Oh, and my name is Sarah Beamer Harlow. I'm the Assistant Director in the Abroad at AU program. I am your advisor for the students whose home institutions are in Asia, the Americas, Europe, with the exception of the UK, and Oceania.
All right, hello, I am Desiree Maruka. I am the incoming student advisor for the Abroad at AU program, and I work directly with any students who have home institutions in the United Kingdom, Ireland, Turkey, and the Middle East. Also on our screen is Ethan Merritt. Ethan is the incoming student advisor for any home institutions in Japan who are not through the Study Abroad Foundation. So if you are here from Waseda or Nanzan University, Ethan will be working with you when you arrive for the fall or year next semester.
And I'm Jacob Klein. I am the Abroad at AU Graduate Program Assistant here. I would be your point of contact for the AU Buddy program and any special events and programming for Abroad at AU while you're here on campus next semester.
And you might have already actually heard from Jacob in case he had any questions about an application. He is our first line of answering emails and looking through your applications.
Okay, so speaking of email, the final thing you'll see on this screen is the abroadatou@american.edu email address. We really want to highlight this to you today to please emphasize that it's really important if you have any questions for American University at all, whether that be for courses, for housing, for billing, etc. You need to be emailing abroadatou@american.edu first. We are your primary contact for the entire university, and the reason why we say that is because there's a lot of different programs and groups running on campus, and not every department knows exactly which student has what things going on. So if you're in Abroad at AU and you say that, they may not necessarily know what unique circumstance or exception to a rule or something like that you fall under. So please email us first. If needed, we will then send you out to a different department on campus, but most likely we'll be able to answer your question right away and in a much more efficient manner because all of us are checking and responding to those emails, especially Jacob. So we're really able to get you an answer very quickly. So again, please make note of abroadatou@american.edu. So as we go through today, we're going to be talking about a few different things. So on our agenda is the J-1 visa and travel plans, housing both on campus and off campus, health insurance and immunizations, registration, orientation, and Abroad at AU events. We are currently recording this session, both the voiceover and the notes on the screen. So you're welcome to be writing things down as we go through and asking questions like we said, but please don't feel stressed out about writing every single thing down or getting all of the notes offline. We will be sending out a recording that you'll be able to rewatch and pause and read as you go through some of your pre-arrival steps. So, be listening and be engaged, but don't be too concerned with getting everything down. Again, just to repeat, please do ask your questions in the chat function. There's apparently another box somewhere on your screen where it says ask a question. Interestingly enough, that doesn't actually come to us in an easily readable fashion. So we would much prefer that you please ask your questions in the chat function. We will answer questions as we go if they are relevant to the topic we're currently discussing. If not, we'll just save them until the end of the presentation, where we'll have an actual session, actual slide for questions and any last minute things that maybe we didn't have a chance to answer specifically for you as we go through. All right, so looking at our agenda, the very first thing we're going to talk about is your J-1 visa and your travel plans for coming to the United States. Getting started with our visa.
All right, thanks, Desiree. So we're going to start with the J-1 visa. All of you will be coming to AU on a J-1 visa. We needed your deposit in order to start processing this J-1 visa. So thank you for all of those who have already deposited. Most of you have already actually been admitted. Some have not yet been admitted. But those of you who have been admitted, please do submit your deposit as soon as possible, because we do need that in order to process any of your support documents for your visa. Once we have those in our office, we will be sending them to the international office at your home university. We won't be sending them to your own home. So definitely be in contact with the international office, the one that helped you apply to our program. Once you actually get this acceptance packet, which I would expect most of them to go out in the next, let's say, 3 weeks or so, you will use that acceptance packet to apply for your J-1 visa to the United States. One of the things you'll need to do that is to pay your SEVIS fee before requesting a visa interview. That is a requirement, and you do have to do that ahead of time. Please note that the first day that you'll be able to enter the United States on your J-1 visa is July 30th, 2017. So you're basically able to enter the country 30 days before the start of your DS 2019. So just keep that in mind when you're making your travel plans. One of the things that you will get in your acceptance packet is a DS 2019. This looks like a very official document. You need to keep this under very good control. You need to be able to have it with you for both your interview and when entering the United States. You cannot use a copy of this. You need the original one. So students often take this, bring it to the interview for your visa, and think, oh, I'm done with it. I'll just leave it at home or do something like that. I've got my visa. I can enter the United States. That is not true. Please be sure to keep this DS 2019 with you when you enter the United States. A copy is not acceptable. So as far as actually making your travel plans, most of this information was already in your acceptance email if you've already been accepted. But I'm going to go over it again just to clarify a few things. So some of you have been offered on-campus housing, and we'll talk about housing in a little bit. But if you plan to live on campus, note that the dorms don't open until Saturday, August 19th at 9 a.m. That means if you're planning to live on campus, you won't be able to stay there before this time and date. So let's say you're living on campus and you want to see Washington, D.C. on August 15th or something like that. That's fine, but you need to get a hostel or a hotel during that time period. You will not be allowed in before August 19th. In most cases, we suggest that students arrive on the 19th or 20th because it takes some time to get adjusted to the new time zone and just a new city. And we understand that you might be arriving a few days early, and while you need some time to get adjusted, you also want to kind of meet people and do things. So for that, we will have optional trips and dinner meetups before the mandatory orientation. The mandatory one will begin on the 22nd, but there will be optional activities on the 20th and 21st. And Jacob will talk about orientation a little bit more toward the end of the session. Now, if you're living off campus, which I know a lot of you will be, You may wish to arrive a week or two early. There's probably more that you'll need to get for your apartment if you're living off campus. And so getting settled will maybe take a little bit more time. So we generally recommend that if you're living off campus to arrive a week or two early. The last day of finals is going to be December 16th of 2017 for the fall students only. So if you live in the dorms, that means you'll only have until December 17th at noon to be out. Obviously, if you live in an apartment, you'll have to work directly with everyone. If you're with your landlord. If you live on campus, your meal plan should be available as soon as you arrive, so you shouldn't have issues with food or anything like that. However, if you live off campus, just be aware that you'll need to probably, one of the reasons that you want to arrive a week or two early is to make sure you have food to actually have in your apartment. We recommend that travel plans for after the semester, that you make that for after the 16th, because December 16th, because again, you won't know your total exam schedule or anything like that. If you may end up having exams much earlier than that, but we don't want you to miss any. And if you make it for the 17th or later, you won't miss it. So just be sure to either have a very refundable or changeable ticket or to make it after December 17th. For students who are here only in the fall semester and do plan to, and will be leaving after the semester is over, your travel documents will probably be valid until the 17th. And then after that, you'll have 30 days to leave the country after that date. So you shouldn't plan to leave any later than January 14th. This is basically a grace period that allows you to finish any last minute details you have in the United States or travel and see some of the places that you might not have gotten to see before or during the semester. But that's meant to be in the United States. So don't plan a ticket to go to, say, Niagara Falls in Canada and then go and come back into the United States and fly out of here. You won't be able to do that. You'll need to stay in the United States during those 30 days or whatever the amount of time. You won't be admitted back into the United States on your J-1 visa after December 16th. So there is a question, is it possible to have a meal plan if you're living off campus? Yes, it absolutely is. So that is, you can look into the actual meal plan sizes. There is a smaller meal plan for 50 total swipes or meals during a semester, and some students who live off campus do choose to do that.
All right, so moving away from travel plans, once you arrive, you'll have your housing. So the first thing is we're going to talk about is on-campus housing, and we will get to off-campus housing. So just be patient. We're going to start with on-campus and then move to off-campus. So if you were offered on-campus housing, that was sent to you in your acceptance email. So you are only eligible to apply for on-campus housing if you were notified that a space was available to you in your acceptance email. If you have been offered campus housing and you would like to accept it, there will be a separate accommodation application. So just because you were offered housing does not mean it is guaranteed to you without completing a separate application. This application has not been sent yet. It will be sent to you as soon as we have received it finalized from the Housing and Dining office. You will complete it as soon as it's sent to you by the preferred date, and you will be notified of your housing placement on campus in the beginning of August. Your application for housing does require your MyAU portal login information, so you must have already paid your deposit and been processed as an AU student and created your MyAU portal login. If you haven't done this yet, you need to follow the information and instructions included on your application for accepted students, and that's going to be called MyAU portal and student email. So once you set that up, you'll use the application as soon as we have been able to send it to you and have a finalized copy from the Housing and Dining office. All right. As far as what your options will be for on campus, you're going to put in your application some preferences for what type of housing you'd like to have. Again, I'd like to really highlight the word preference. This is just an option of where you may want to live, but it is not where you are guaranteed a place, and you agree to stay where you receive housing on campus. So you're able to put your first, second, third choice, but Housing and Dining will decide where you best fit and give you one of the spaces available. So traditional rooms are what you'll see in most of the places on campus, and that's going to be 2 individuals to a room. You'll each have your own space and furniture, and we'll talk about that on the next slide, but you'll be in one room shared on a floor with a lot of other students who have a general lounge area that provides some kitchen and lounging, a TV, things like that, and then you'll have shared bathrooms with the people of the same gender on your floor. In a suite style, you're going to have 4, 6 individuals in a location where you're sharing your room with just one other roommate, but then you have a shared bathroom with just the individuals within your suite. These also tend to be one gender, so you would only have males if you're a male and females if you are a female. So this just gives you a little more option to share the bathroom with less people, and then you also would have your kitchen available to you on the floor in a shared lounge. Finally, you have apartment style. So this is going to be 2 individuals in their own apartment. Usually 1 bedroom or studio is what's available. So here you're going to have, again, a shared room with your own furniture, and then this time you'll have a shared bathroom and a shared kitchen just amongst the people who are in your specific apartment. So looking at housing on campus, what is provided to you? So no matter which of the choices we just talked about, you are going to be guaranteed at least these few things I'm going to say. So you'll have a closet or a wardrobe, some type of storage and dresser, as well as your bed, a desk with a chair, and your bookcase. So you may have seen a few of those pieces of furniture in some of the pictures we just went through. That is all that is provided to you from Housing and Dining. So things like your linens, your towels, hangers, things to use in the bathroom, etc. All of that will be the responsibility of the individual student to buy or rent. And as Sarah mentioned, we'll have some different shopping trips available to you right when you arrive into Washington, D.C. or on campus, so you'll be able to purchase those things, but be thinking about that as you're getting ready to come to DC. So who lives in the dorms? Our residence halls on campus are primarily for underclassmen. That means students who are in their first or second year, especially individuals who are under the age of 21. So for American University specifically, we have mostly younger students living on campus, and they are coming to university either for the first time or maybe just returning for their second year. They are under the age of 21 primarily because we have a what we call dry campus and tobacco and smoke-free campus. And this means even if you are of legal age in America to smoke or to drink alcohol, you are not allowed to do it on campus. Everyone on campus is required to live dry, which means you would have to leave campus in order to engage in those activities I just mentioned. Events and staffing. So on campus, you do have some special resources available to you. One would be your RA, or your resident assistant, which is an upperclassman who's been assigned to sort of be the leader of your floor. They're available to you to answer questions, to help you navigate any issues you may be having with your campus housing, as well as to plan events and special things for the individuals on your floor to sort of build community and to get everyone to know each other and know what American University and DC has to offer. So those things would be available, as well as a desk receptionist. So all of our residence halls do have a 24-hour, 7 days a week front desk that is able to provide some security and answer questions and be there in case anything were to happen in the building. Finally, for meal plans, if you live on campus in any of the housing options, you are required to have a meal plan. That is a university policy, so anyone who lives under Housing and Dining's purview has to have a mandatory meal plan option as a separate charge and benefit to being on campus. So just keep that in mind. You'll have access to some things on the floor, such as a microwave and a stove, but you will need to have a meal plan for our dining halls or some of the restaurants available on campus. So we have a couple questions. Let me just see right here. Will we all receive an application to on-campus housing, or just some of us, according to age, etc.? So like I said on the first slide about on-campus housing, if you were offered a space on campus, then that was already listed to you in your acceptance email. And yes, some people were offered campus housing and some people were not. There's a lot of things that go into that. For the most part, we offer on-campus housing to students who are either coming, if they're the first ones from their institution who are coming, or they're of a younger age. And we tend to hear from students that their preference was actually to live off campus. So if you were not offered on-campus housing, it's because we've heard from other peers at your university or individuals who are coming from your same country or who are your same age who have preferred greatly their off-campus housing arrangements and who benefited from not being on campus because they were looking for different resources than the ones that were offered for on-campus housing. All right, so moving away from on-campus housing, we're now going to talk about off-campus options.
So Desiree's already kind of touched a little bit about why you might want to live off campus. In some cases, you have to live off campus because we haven't offered you on-campus housing. However, students who are over the age of 21 generally are much happier off campus. I've talked to many students over the years, and I think overall we get a sense that they're much happier off campus in those situations. Again, our campus is dry, meaning it's alcohol and smoke free. In addition, when you live off campus, you might have the option of choosing your roommate, whether you want to come at a certain time of day or night or whatever. You're not under the rules that you would be in on-campus housing, which is also why older students who maybe have already lived off away from their parents or lived away would feel more comfortable in this scenario. Additionally, it can be less expensive than living on campus. So on average, students who live off campus pay around $900 a month for their rent. And when we just recently asked them, the lowest rent reported was $720 per month, and the highest was $1,150 per month. And most students also have their utilities included in all of this. That can be dramatically less expensive than what you would be paying on campus. Unfortunately, American University is just located in a very expensive area, both in DC, and then the part of DC we live in is quite expensive. So being able to have that option to try to find a less expensive option is always good for a lot of students. So where can you find out about some of these off-campus housing options? We first want to direct you to the off-campus housing required readings that if you've already been admitted, you've probably already been referred to, or you might have already read. Additionally, and beyond that, there is an off-campus housing office and a housing guide at American University. I really recommend that you look through that. You can reach that through our off-campus housing required reading. There is a link to all of that information there. And that's where you're going to find more of the formal places for off-campus housing if you're concerned about that. However, I will say a lot of our students find their housing through the more informal housing Facebook groups. So there's one called Housing. There's another Housing and Sublet AU and AU Housing. All of those have been really helpful to a lot of our students because they're often filled with people who are maybe studying abroad from American University and they need to sublet their place. So that they're going abroad and they just need to fill it up for one semester. Additionally, we have an Abroad at AU 1718 Facebook page that we hope you'll all be added to very shortly, and I'll talk about that later. That's a great place to meet other people who are going to be coming in your exact circumstance and meeting them and maybe going in and trying to find a place together. Also, if you've ever had a student from your university go, you should definitely talk to them and figure out what their suggestions are and see where they recommend that you study or that you look for housing. One of the other things that I mentioned, that I didn't mention about why you might want to live off campus, if you want a single room in any way, shape, or form, you're not going to get that on campus. As Desiree mentioned, even in the apartment style places, there are only double or triple rooms. So if you want a room all to yourself, you will have to go off campus. Some of the options for locations that you might want to be looking in are the Berkshire and Avalon apartment buildings. They're probably the closest thing to campus as far as big apartments and where a lot of students live. Additionally, neighborhoods around AU, such as Tenleytown, Glover Park, Cleveland Park, Friendship Heights, and AU Park. It seems there are a lot of parks in our area. The other nice thing about living off campus is you might have different style of housing that's different or an option. So in some of these cases that I just mentioned, you'll live in a big apartment complex with many, many, many people, much more like our dorms on campus. But there's also the option that you might be able to live in, say, a family home with a basement apartment and share maybe a kitchen with the owner. So it might feel more home-like than a big apartment building might as well. So I will say you're probably already, if you're thinking about living off campus or you've already had to, we've already told you you're going to have to live off campus, you're probably already thinking about, okay, how am I going to find that place? When should I start looking? All of that. I will say, if you look now, there are going to be very, very few people looking for fall housing right now. So if you're on those housing and sublet things, they're not at Facebook groups, they're probably not going to have stuff for summer right now. Do not be concerned. Most of our students find their housing at the earliest in June and some as late as August. We have never had a student not housed. We have been able to find housing, or students have been able to find housing in all cases. So don't be concerned about that. It just might be a little later in your timeline than you really expect at the beginning. And some students really do find it easier to find housing once they're here. So just be patient. You will find housing if you are looking for it. And Sasha, in relation to your question, are there formal forums for off-campus housing other than Facebook? That's kind of what I was mentioning as far as the off-campus housing guide and website on through our office of our housing and dining office. You can reach that through our off-campus housing reading. You could probably also Google that same thing. Like I said, though, it's probably not going to be quite as active as some of the Facebook groups that are there. So while they are more formal, they're just probably not going to have the sheer number that the Facebook groups are going to have.
All right. So moving away from housing, we're going to talk about health, both your immunizations and health insurance once you arrive into the United States. So starting with immunizations.
All right, so I will probably call them shots rather than immunizations because I can't say that word very well. But in general, every student who comes to American University, not just international students, but domestic US-based students, also need to have their immunization shots. In order to prove it to American University, you will need to fill out this form that you see here. You'll have your doctor complete it and sign it and send it in. There are very specific instructions on how you do that on the instructions page, which is, I think, the first page of the form. This is one of the few times in which we tell you to direct your questions directly to an office on campus. In most cases, we will say, please email abroad@au@american.edu. In the case of shots and immunizations, again, I can't say that word, we do ask that you forward it directly to the Student Health Center because we just don't have the background in your health needs and what shots you may or may not need. So in some cases, students mention, I don't have all of these shots that they're requiring. Can I get some once I arrive at AU? And the answer is absolutely yes. However, if you're missing something and it's a three-dose shot, for instance, and you have to get one now, one in 3 months, one in 6 months, please start it now in your home country. And then once you arrive on campus, you can get the second or third shot for that series. You will have to pay for those shots once you arrive. Desiree will be talking about the U.S. healthcare system. It is a bit expensive, so you should be budgeting for that if necessary. It's really important that you start on this earlier rather than later because it will be due on July 15th. And it's not just a form that you need to do and then send in. It's a form that you need to work with your doctor to make sure is complete. So please be sure you're bringing this to your doctor in plenty of time so that you have enough time to bring it or send it to the health center by the July 15th deadline. It's really important that you do this because every year we have students who don't do it and then aren't able to get their transcripts or some kind of grade report after the semester because they have a stop on their account. Please make sure you're doing this now because it will alleviate a lot of headaches later. Do you guys have any questions about getting your shots and proving it to our health center? Okay, Desiree.
All right, so moving away from immunizations, the next thing under health we'd like to talk about is the AU health insurance requirement and plan. So as an American University student, you are automatically enrolled and eligible to have coverage through the AU student health insurance. This is the option that is highly, highly recommended by Abroad at AU, and that is for a few really important reasons. We don't just say that because we work for American University and we get a bonus for every student who applies. It is the best coverage for you as both an international student and an AU student. You will see on the next slide that there are a list of requirements that are held by both the State Department and the university for all students and all international students. And so this plan automatically covers all of those things and just gives you the best insurance as an AU student. The U.S. healthcare system is quite complicated and it can be very, very expensive. You may have heard recently in the news that we're a little bit of a mess when it comes to healthcare coverage and different things. So we have a great system. It's in place. It's just very expensive and access to it can be complicated, and that is why we recommend using the AU plan, because then you have the Student Health Center right here on campus. You have resources available to you to answer questions, and just past experience, unfortunately, has shown us that when students do waive the insurance and believe their coverage is enough, they end up having problems, and they are ultimately required to pay off large bills because they needed to go to the emergency room or something like that. All right. Again, as Sarah said, for any specific questions related to your insurance plan or whether your insurance waiver can be accepted, please do go ahead and email the Student Health Center directly. This is the one case where we say that will be a quicker answer than responding to abroad at AU, and that's just because we're not health professionals. We can't give you the really small details about what's covered and things like that. You need to enroll in the AU health insurance plan by August 1st, 2017. So you will automatically have this on your bill, and information will be sent out to you from the health center. So make sure you're paying attention to those emails and following their information in order to enroll. There's a lot more details and kind of small points about insurance available to you on your application under your accepted students additional materials. So please go back and look at that learning content and make sure that you're reading all of the information over again under the document that is called AU Health Insurance. We will not be taking a break, but as I said at the beginning, we will be recording this, so if you need to step away for a moment or pause, please feel free to do that, but we are going to keep moving as it is very late in some parts of the world where we are giving this presentation for you. So if you have decided, even after all of that, not to use the AU Health Insurance, you are allowed to waive it. However, that's a complicated process that requires 2 steps, so I will go over that here briefly, but again, you need to be really taking a minute and considering all of the benefits for the AU Health Insurance plan and really making sure that if you want to use an independent plan, that it does cover all the requirements and you aren't going to be caught owing a lot of money to a hospital or to a doctor visit, something like that. So the first thing about the waiver is to please note that it is due on August 1st, 2017. So this will be before you arrive to campus. So you need to be working on that over the summer and make sure that if you have any questions or concerns, you are addressing those and getting everything submitted by this time. There will be no exceptions to that August 1st, 2017 date. The first step is the J1 student visa requirements. So these are requirements that are held by the U.S. government for all J1 visa holders. So this isn't something that we're just, adding to a list to make it difficult for you or that our International Student Office has mandated. This is actually coming from the State Department, which is the government organization in the U.S. that has issued your visa to you. So you really need to make sure that you're looking at the specific requirements listed under the health insurance document on your application and checking off each and every one of them with your own insurance plan to ensure that you meet all of the requirements that are given to you by the government. More information will be sent out to you regarding this particular list of requirements in your acceptance packet, and that will come directly from our International Student and Scholars Services department on campus because they are the ones who report directly to the U.S. State Department. So if you need more information, make sure that you're reading our document online, and you are also welcome to go to the ISSS website. If you just Google American University, ISSS, or international students, then that website will come up and provide you more information to show you what those visa requirements will be. There will be a form given to you in your acceptance email that will list the requirements and mandate that you fill in the answers with how your insurance covers them if you do choose to waive the AU insurance, which, as a fun note, covers all of these requirements and you do not have to worry about if you just stay on the AU insurance plan. All right. The second step, after you've made sure that it meets all of the J1 visa requirements, is to make sure that it meets all of the American University requirements. These are requirements that are not just for international students, but are for all American University students, anyone who is a individual studying here in Washington, D.C. at our university. So once you've made sure it meets all the J1 requirements, please note that it still may not meet all of the AU student insurance requirements. And again, that list is available to you on your reading under health insurance. It's way too many things to go through all of it with you guys here, so we would prefer that you please just go back and make sure you're reading that requirement carefully and submitting that waiver if you would like to. The list is available on the Student Health website as well as on your application. And again, please note that if it meets all the AU requirements, causation does not cause correlation, and it may not cover the international student requirements. If it does, you will be able to waive the insurance through your MyAU portal. The waiver is not currently available since it's only March and you don't have to waive it until August. So right now they're still in processing all of, and covering everyone for this school year. Once it's over, come beginning of summer, then that waiver will be available to you and you'll just submit it through your portal and have everything done by August 1st. All right, so that's a lot of information for health insurance, but we get a lot of questions about it, so we just wanted to kind of cover it briefly. But if you have questions about your specific plan or whether, you have things covered like that, this or that, please do contact the Student Health Center, and we will be able to work with you over the next few months. That's why we do this early, so that you guys have plenty of time to get everything situated before you come to campus. All right, if you use the AU Health Insurance Plan, your doctor will be right here on campus, which is another added benefit, and you'll be able to see a medical professional right here at our Student Health Center. This is not some office we're talking about, somewhere in DC. It's literally across the street actually from our building. So it's really easily accessible once you're here and you can ask questions and things like that. They do not process other insurances besides their own. That means if you choose to waive the AU Health Insurance and use your own, that's fine, but you'll be paying out of pocket for any expenses you have at the AU Health Center and then submitting a separate refund to your individual insurance. Again, this is not something that's unique to international students. That is for all of the students on campus. Either you have the AU Health Insurance and you can go to the health center, or you have to pay out of pocket and then submit for a refund to your own insurance policy. All right, so now that we've talked about all of that health related, I don't see any additional questions, so we're going to move on and look at courses and registration. Yeah. Okay, so the very first steps for your registration will be listed here on this screen. So we've already said this a few times, but please, please, please do pay your $500 deposit. This has been done by almost everyone, which is great, which means you're processed and you're a student on campus, and you will need to create your MyAU portal. The next thing will be to reread really carefully your course selection document that was part of your application, and then also go ahead and read the new documents that have appeared once you're accepted, which are titled Waitlist and Register for Courses. And then you're going to go back, review your course approvals, and request any additional courses if necessary, which we'll talk about in a few slides. And then finally, registration, which Jacob will walk us through briefly when we get to that section. So Sarah is going to talk a little bit about your course selections and the credits and courses that you can take when you're here.
All right, so you must be a full-time student if you're studying on a J-1 visa in the United States. What that means for American University is you must be registered for at least 12 credits. So even if when you first register you don't get into all the classes that you want, you still must register for 12 credits. That means that even if you're on a wait list or something like that, you must register for something to fill up those 12 credits. Otherwise, you're not officially a valid international student at American University. So we're going to talk about a little bit about how to look at our schedule of classes and what the courses mean. We know that you've partially done this already and you've already submitted course requests to us. However, we're going to make sure that you understand more in depth about why you might have been approved or not approved for some classes. So as I mentioned first, you must register for 12 credits, which is probably going to be for 4 classes. Some students might be able to register for more than 12 credits, but some students may not be able to. So when we send you an email confirming that you're cleared to register, we'll be sure to tell you how many total credits you can register for. Some students may only be able to take approximately 4 classes, but others will be able to register for more. We'll be sending out an email about that, which Jacob will talk about in a few minutes, about how many courses you can take and how many credits you can take. And that's when you'll officially know how many credits you can take. So just to go over what courses and or what the course levels are at American University, the 100 to 200 level courses are introductory courses. So if you've never taken a course in, say, anthropology, you would be in that 100 to 200 level. However, if you've taken other equivalents to an introductory class, you would most likely be in a 300 to 400 level class. So that's advanced coursework. Maybe you're majoring in that area. That would be when you'd take that 300 to 400 level class. And then the 500 level and above are taken generally in your last year. In a lot of cases, these are closed to Abroad at AU students because they're actually graduate-only classes. In some departments, they may be open to you, so if you are interested in taking them, please be sure to reach out to your Abroad at AU advisor. So let's give a scenario in which an economics major wants to take a sociology course. So that student, even though the economics major might be in his 3rd or 4th year, he should still only take a 100 or 200 level course because he doesn't know anything about sociology. However, his economics courses are probably going to be more in that 300 to 400 level courses. So now we'll go into the course restrictions and kind of go over what you can and cannot take. So our website has very good lists of all of these things. They're called course restrictions on our website. It's under the academics tab, I believe. So in the case of SIS, the School of International Service, and Kogod School of Business, there are courses that you're restricted from taking. However, in addition to that, there are a list of courses for the School of Communication which you are actually only able to take. So if you're hoping to take communications classes, please really look closely at that list because there's no class that you can take unless it's on the School of Communication list specifically. In addition, there will be courses that say program restrictions, such as only open to honors program students or mentorship students. Those will be closed to Abroad at AU students. Same with the ones that say school restrictions, so only open to students in SIS. Things like that. Those are not going to be open to you. In fact, regular AU students, if they're not in that school or program, wouldn't be able to take those classes either. Another really important one is that you cannot take online courses. So if it specifically says instruction method online, you can't take that course. We've had a few students ask us about a few courses that they've been approved for, which on the schedule of class says instruction method online. That's generally because there are multiple sections of that class. So for instance, I believe Introduction to Criminology, for instance, has multiple sections of that course. One section might be taught on campus, but another section might be online. You would be only eligible to take that course that is on campus. You cannot take the online section. There are some courses also that say hybrid, and in those cases, those are taught both online and in person. Since they're also taught in person, those are okay. Those are typically language classes. And language classes are another important note. If you want to take any course above the elementary 1 language level, for say French or Korean or German, you would need to take the language placement test before we could approve you to take a class. That's just so we have a better understanding of what level you might be in at American University, because the levels don't necessarily correspond across multiple universities. Finally, you cannot take an internship for credits while you're at American University. We'll talk more in depth once you get here on whether or not you want to do an internship. That may be a possibility. However, you will not be able to get AU credit for that through the Abroad at AU program. So most of you have or should have already seen this. This is, of course, the course schedule. This is how you choose your courses for the semester of fall 2017. Most of us actually get to this website by just Googling American University schedule of classes. It's much quicker than trying to go through the American University website. The important things to note when you choose this, under semester, make sure you're choosing fall 2017. So that will make sure that you are choosing courses that are actually going to be open and available to you in the semester that you're coming. If you accidentally choose spring 17 or if you previously requested fall 16 courses, they may not actually be taught the semester that you're coming here. So please be sure to check for fall 2017. Okay? And so you have already had your course clearances. So we have generated a list of approvals or rejections that you've gotten for courses at American University. So you signed up when you originally were applying to American University for anywhere from 8 to 12 courses. So the reason we've requested that you add or submit so many of them is because A, you may not have actually been qualified to take all of those classes, which you'll be able to see on this letter you should have received with your acceptance packet or acceptance email. And additionally, you may not be guaranteed a space in that class even if you've been accepted to take it. So that's why we wanted to approve you for a lot of classes, so that when it comes to registration, which Jacob will talk about in a short while, we wanted to make sure that you have a selection of courses that you'll actually be able to get into some of them. When you go to register, this is the form that's going to be really important to look at. If you have a lot of classes that were rejected and you really want to know if you can add additional classes, you absolutely can do that. We suggest you either email us at abroadatau@american.edu with additional course requests, or use the course clearance request form again. Now, if you only have one class, please email it to us. But if you have 8 to 15 more classes that you wish to request from us, definitely submit that form. It will be easier. If you're currently taking a class that you want to use as a prerequisite for another one of the class, you are probably not been approved to take that class this semester because we did not see it on your transcript. So if that's the case, please submit some kind of evidence that you're currently enrolled in the class. That we probably mentioned it in your enrollment letter if we didn't see it on your transcript.
All right. So once you go through all of that and you get your acceptance email with the list of approved courses, you will then get another email probably in about a week or two from your Abroad at AU advisor letting you know what your registration time is. You will get a very specific time of the day that is tied to your AU student ID, so if you do go in and try to register before that time, it will not allow you to do so. This is why it's important to make sure that you've set up your My AU portal already and you can ensure that it's working and you're capable of logging in, because you will be doing everything from this point on as far as registration is concerned through your My AU portal. So, once you are on the screen, you're going to want to look at the left-hand side of the screen to the drop-down menu that says Academics. I'm sure some of you may be following these steps as I say them, so hopefully I can give you the clearest instructions possible. Once you click that Academics drop-down, there's a long list of links there. You want to click on Eagle Service Student Planning. That's the way you're going to get to your course planning page, which will look like the screen on the left. Please ensure that on the top left it does say the Fall 2017 regular term. That's going to make sure you're putting classes on the right calendar for the correct semester. Now that you have your list of approved courses, you can start putting them onto your calendar, see how they work out in your schedule, and try and decide the best schedule for your semester here. It's also important to plan a few extra courses here just in case you are waitlisted in any section or courses do fill up. You can give yourself different options and make sure you're prepared for different types of scenarios. So the way you can do this is in the upper right hand corner of your screen. You can search for courses. You can search for that course code directly. So just if you're going to take, for example, a marketing class, it'll start with MKGT or TG, I don't know. And then the course number, which is 3 digits, and the section number, which is 3 digits. That will take you to a page which will allow you to add a section to your schedule, and it'll show up in yellow. You'll get a lot more details on this in a video we're going to send you with very clear instructions on how to do this. But once this course is added to your calendar in yellow, that will let you know that it is planned, but you are not registered for any course that is showing up in yellow. All right, on the left side of your screen, it will show you more details of courses. It'll say planned but not registered, how many seats are available, the day and time of the class and the professor, things like that. So you do have the option of planning multiple courses at the same time to see how it could affect your schedule. But once you go to register, you will not be allowed to register for multiple courses at the same time. So it is good for you to log into your MyAU account as early as possible and start playing around with these courses so that when it comes time to actually register, you'll be able to click that button on the upper right hand corner of your screen that says register now, and it'll automatically register you for everything that is planned on your schedule. Do keep in mind, if a course is full when you go to register and it is still on your planned schedule, it will not turn green. Any course that does not turn green indicates that you are either not eligible to take the course for any reason, or the class is full and you've been added to a wait list, which Desiree will be talking about right now.
Just to answer the question that just popped up on the screen, if you are having problems with your student account, it may be that your name or your birthday was entered in a certain way to make sure that it all fit, or your birthday, was flipped so that your month and then date was in the correct order. In this particular case, I can tell you that you need to send us an email and have us respond to you, because we put your name in a unique way to match your immigration documents. But if you're having trouble, please do just send us an email to abroad@AU, and we'll be able to tell you exactly how to enter the information. Your AU ID was included in your acceptance email right under your name at the very top. So for example, it said Dear Henry, and then right under Dear Henry it said AU ID 1234567. So go back to your acceptance email and look right under your name, and you'll see what your unique AU ID was assigned.
And you can expect registration to start about mid-April. You'll get an email like I said earlier, in about a week or two, letting you know the exact date or time, but it should be around mid-April.
All right, so moving on to the wait list. So as Jacob mentioned, once you go in and you're looking at your Eagle service and you're adding everything onto your schedule, it may be possible that a course fills up before you have an opportunity to register for a spot in the class. This is not something that you should be overly stressed out about right now, but it is a possibility. So we just want to kind of go through it quickly and let you know that there is sort of this possibility that you may need to enter yourself onto a waitlist in order to get a space in a certain course. So a waitlist is just a list of students who want to get into a closed course. It is the only way for you to get into a course that is closed. You can try and email us or email the professor. Unfortunately, there is nothing we can do. There's no special exceptions for any students on campus, so you would need to enter yourself on the waitlist and wait for your opportunity to register. If a spot opens up, it becomes available to the first person on the list. Once they register, everyone on the list moves one step closer. If they do not register, then it goes to the next person, and then if an additional person drops out of the class, then it would go to the first person on the list, and so on and so on. You are allowed to be on 3 waitlists at any time, so make sure you're choosing carefully which classes you would really like to get into, and you're only allowed to be on the waitlist for one section of a particular course. So if the course has multiple sections that are all on waitlist, choose the section that maybe has the lower amount of students currently on the list or that fits best with your schedule, and make sure you're putting yourself onto that waitlist. If you are offered a spot off the waitlist, you must register for that course 24 hours after that original email was sent to you. So you need to be checking your AU student Gmail really closely to ensure that if you are offered a spot off the waitlist, you don't miss the opportunity to register for that class, because then you will have to put yourself back on the waitlist at the bottom. You are responsible for making your own changes to your schedule, so please be watching that carefully if the waitlists are moving. We don't expect that there will be a ton of movement on the waitlist right now, or maybe even over the summer break. A lot of students register themselves into their classes and then they wait until the first week to actually attend and see what they like, don't like. That goes for our Abroad at AU students as well as all of the full-time AU students. So you'll really start to see that movement in the waitlist once you kind of arrive, but it is something you definitely want to still be monitoring over the next few months until the beginning of fall. And we will talk about on the next slide how you would be monitoring for that. If you are registered for a waitlist, you are not actually registered in the credits for that course. So it will remain yellow on the calendar Jacob just showed you, and you will need to add an extra course to your schedule to make sure that you meet that 12 credit minimum. So this can be just a placeholder course, something that maybe was a little bit lower on your preference list, but that you were still cleared for and that you would still be willing to take if you weren't to get off the waitlist for your original class. But the important thing to note here is that you need to be a student, a full-time student at AU in order to be in correct visa standing. So you need to make sure you're at 12 credits, and Sarah and I will be monitoring that closely and adding classes to your schedule if necessary to ensure you meet those immigration requirements. We have a question here that says, do I have to send another course approval request if I know that I pass the requirements? So if you know you meet the prerequisite, then yes, you would still need for us to clear it, because what we're doing when you send all of that to Sarah and I is actually going into the AU system on the backside and telling the system it's okay for you to register. So we have to waive all of the prerequisites manually for you. So even though you know you meet it, the AU registration system doesn't know you meet it unless Sarah and I have told it that. So yes, you need to send us anything, even if you see a prereq and you're like, oh, I know I already took that, it needs to be something that's been cleared by our office officially.
And so one thing that confuses students each semester, even if we've cleared you, say we've cleared you for courses that have Econ 100 and Econ 200 already. So we know that you've taken those. We've told you you can take courses that have those as the prerequisites. we still have to clear the individual course. So let's say Econ 300 requires 100 and 200, and we've already cleared you for that. You still have to tell us if you want to take Econ 301, which has the exact same requirements. It's just a little weird glitch that our system has, so we do have to let the system know each time.
Yep, so the average student per section at AU is actually 1 professor to 24 students. So that will officially be what the average is. With that said, there are courses that are much smaller than that. We do have some classes, for example, in audio technology, where there's only 10 or 15 students allowed in the class. And then we have other classes like macroeconomics, where if you choose to be in a large lecture, you could have up to 300 students in your class. Now, any class that's offered that large does also have sections that are offered at a smaller rate. I would say in your classes, our students tend to have anywhere between maybe 25 to 35 students. So that's actually pretty small in the United States system. And is probably really small for some of you who are coming from institutions where everything is lecture-based, but I would say on average you'll have maybe about 30 students in your class, with, again, some being smaller and maybe some being just slightly larger than that.
And Timo, you're in a very unique situation, so I'm not going to talk about your situation specifically for everybody. But if there is a 300 level class you're interested in taking, please let me know and we can discuss that in depth.
All right, so as I prefaced just a second ago, there is a way to check your waitlist, and you're going to want to be doing this closely so that if you are 1 or 2 on the waitlist, that you know to be checking your email and that there's a strong possibility a spot will be available to you. So what you're going to do is go to your MyAU portal, which Jacob showed you just a few slides ago. You're going to click Academics, and this time, instead of clicking Eagle Service Student Planning, you're going to scroll down and click My Waitlisted Sections. On the My Waitlisted Sections screen, you'll see the history of all the sections that you've ever been on the waitlist for or are currently on the waitlist for. So it will give you all the details, as you can see here, of the course. And then to the right, it'll say WL position, which stands for waitlist position. And that just shows you exactly what number on the list you are, so that you can be watching that closely. And if, like I said, you were to be one of the few lower numbers, you'll want to make sure you're checking that email, because if you receive an email saying you have been offered a space a space in the class on campus, then you only have 24 hours to get back onto Eagle Service and register for that class. All right, and again, a separate video will be sent around when you get your course, your clearance to actually register, that will give you all the steps and details you need to go through and make sure that you're adding everything to your schedule correctly for fall 2017. All right, so I don't see anything coming through, so we're going to move away from courses and into orientation, and Jacob is going to chat with you guys a little bit about what that week will look like.
All right, so once you finally get here after all of this paperwork and registration and everything is handled, we have a great orientation week planned for you guys. There are 2 days of absolutely mandatory sessions on August 22nd and 23rd, so regardless of your travel plans, how early or late you plan to come to DC, you will need to be there on August 22nd and 23rd for those sections. Specifically and most importantly, because we do document collection and immigration check-in on those days, and you are not legally here in DC until the university verifies it, and that happens during those 2 days. So you must be there. But we do also have some fun stuff that happens during those mandatory days. You'll get some campus tours, during which you'll get your AUID, which is extremely important for you to have, especially if you're living here on campus. It's your way to get into your building. It's also your way to claim meals if you did get a meal plan, and use dining dollars and Eagle Bucks and things like that to buy food at local grocery store or local restaurants and such. You also get introduced to tons of services for you here on campus, and you'll get tons of information about your employment and visa regulations. So for those of you who might be interested in interning or having a part-time job while you're here in the States. You'll get all the information that you need to have about what you are legally allowed to do while you are studying abroad. This is also an important time for you to get information about the American classroom system. For most, if not all of you, this will be a big change from what your home university is like as far as how the courses are set up, what's expected from you in the classroom. So there's a lot of information that you'll need to make sure you're going to do the best you possibly can do while you're here. Because the whole point of being here is to do well in school, right? But we do have several other days of optional activities that I would highly recommend you participate in. So if you do arrive here on campus a couple days early and you want to figure out exactly where you are, for example, there will be some campus tours that we offer, as well as shopping trips to local grocery stores and restaurants with our great team of orientation leaders who will be introducing you to AU. So we have a group of students who are here who have recently returned, for the most part, recently returned from their own study abroad experiences, who want to introduce you to their home institution here at AU, who will show you a good time during the orientation week. So that will include dinners and outings and such, and also my favorite activity, which is Snapshot DC. Snapshot DC is on the last day of orientation.
It's actually Thursday.
Oh, which is Thursday this year. My typo, I'm sorry. And I highly recommend that you guys participate in this event. You can register through your Abroad at AU application page. What this event is a photo-based competition where you and a team of students go out into a specific area of DC. You learn a bit of history, you see some sights, and you take lots of pictures and have lots of fun. And it is never a disappointment. You're going to have a good time, I promise. You'll get a lot more details about it later on. But again, I just want to do my little endorsement and let you know that it's a great event that you definitely should participate in. I also, as I mentioned earlier, am your point of contact for the AU Buddy program. What this is a great chance for you to have a built-in friend here on campus and someone you can already get in touch with before you even leave for the US. There are a lot of AU students who have just returned from their own study abroad experience who want to make sure that you have a good time and know what it's like to be in a foreign country, at a foreign university, navigating a new academic and social system, who want to be a resource here for you as well as a friend. So I highly recommend that you participate in this program. It's led to some lasting friendships here on campus, so you should definitely participate. If you have any questions about it, feel free to email us at abroadaau@american.edu. You can also find more information about the program on our website and apply directly through the website.
And students should find out sometime probably in June about who their AU Buddy is. So you should have plenty of time to actually kind of email back and forth with that student if you have any questions before you actually arrive on campus.
And then after orientation, the fun never ends. My job here on campus is to program all types of events for you guys for the entire time you're here, including sporting events, cultural events, going to museums and concerts maybe, and volunteering throughout the city. So what's particularly great about the Abroad at AU program is that we kind of tailor it to what you are specifically interested in while you're here. So for example, the students last semester really wanted to tour federal buildings and learn about how the government runs here in DC, which was a great chance for us to see a lot of things we might not have otherwise seen and toured lots of interesting buildings, but that didn't interest the students so much this semester, so we're doing a lot more cultural events, going to museums and concerts. We went ice skating, so all types of different things. It's very important for you guys to stay vocal. Send me emails, let me know what you're interested in doing, because I want to get you guys good discounts on the things you want to do, and I want you guys to have fun doing it. So definitely be active and let us know what is the most fun for you while you're here.
And while these events are technically optional, students have really said that they're a highlight of the program and something that really makes it a unique aspect of the Abroad at AU program. And they really, the ones who have taken advantage of it really seem to love it. Finally, as we said earlier, if you want to contact us, be sure to be emailing at the abroadatau@american.edu email address. It's really the best place to get in contact with all of us. We all check that email, so your response time is going to be dramatically quicker at that. Please note that there is a very similar email address where you might be getting automated emails from. Don't email whatever that address is. Be sure to do it to abroadatau@american.edu. Other ways that you can contact us and get in touch and just understand a little bit more about what the Abroad at AU program is, you can like us on Facebook. And separately, we have Instagram and Snapchat as well. You can see all the information for those there. Also, be sure to send me a friend request. I'm Sarah B. Harlow. There's a link in your application after you've been admitted. That will, please note that this is my work email or my work Facebook account. I'm not checking in on you and what you're posting. So no need to worry there. I will be adding students and accepting your friend request shortly, so that we can add you to the 17 and 18 Abroad at AU group. Again, the 17-18 Abroad at AU group will be a secret group in which you guys can communicate amongst each other, so you can kind of meet each other ahead of time electronically. But it's also a great way for us to let you know about the events that Jacob is doing, or if we know of some great discounts on campus or anything like that. It's a great way to do that. So now, if you have any questions, please go ahead and write them in the chat. I noticed one came in earlier, and it's Paulina here. She's asked, if we also have a tourist visa, can we travel to Canada and then go back to the USA? So that's in connection with that question, or that thing that I said earlier, that after December 17th, you shouldn't plan to leave the United States and then come back into the United States to fly out. So the reason we say that is because you will not be admitted back in on your J1 visa. Now, if you actually have a tourist visa in the United States, that might be a possibility. I do want to caution you, however, if you're on a visa waiver, technically you're supposed to go back to your home country first between that visa and before you come back into the United States on a visa waiver. So for those students who have a B2 visa, that will probably be okay. But if you're on a visa waiver program, I would recommend you not do that. One student just now asked, when does registration start? Each student will have specific registration dates and times, and that will actually be in your MyAU portal, which you will be able to see once we send out the registration clearance email. That email will go out probably sometime next week, and the actual registration date will probably be the second week in April. But again, that will depend on each individual and what the registrar's office time and date gives you. But again, it will probably be that second week of April. Any other questions that you guys have?
How many students are there at AU? Great question. So AU has a fairly equal undergrad and graduate population. So keep in mind that you'll be having both of those student communities on campus. At the undergraduate level, we are right now hovering about 7,000 students. They've had some larger freshman classes coming in, so first year classes in the last couple of years, but we're right around 7,000 students the last time they told us what the numbers were. And we are close to equal, more or less, with the graduate students. They have usually between 5,000 and 6,000 graduate students across all of the different colleges. But for the undergraduate population, it's right about 7,000 students.
Timo, I did not get your email from a few days ago. Go ahead and resend it to the general email. That will be the best way to access us. I'm sorry I didn't respond to you. I don't think I've seen an email come in from you.
All right, so should our chosen courses correspond with our home university curriculum? That is really up to you as a student, and up to each individual and their degree plan at their home university. So you need to make sure that, you're talking to your home university academic advisors and that the classes you're taking here will either count as elective or towards your degree, that you'll still be making academic progress when you're at home. For us, it doesn't really matter. What we obviously will be checking for, as we've been doing and as we've been talking about, is whether or not you're qualified to take the classes that you're requesting. So, if you want to take a semester of electives, you're welcome to do that, and we've had students who have done that in the past, but keep in mind you'll be doing those courses at maybe the 100 or 200 level if you don't have previous experience in that particular subject area. So you want to make sure, if you're a third year, that taking courses at the introductory level is going to be okay at your home university. That's not something that Abroad at AU can tell you. That's something your home university can tell you as far as what actual classes you need to be taking to make sure you're progressing towards your degree. And then again, if you want to be taking classes that are within your home university curriculum, you're welcome to do that. You just need to make sure you're cleared and that we have a chance to allow you into those upper level classes based on the prerequisites already on your transcript. All right, any additional questions? All right, here, they're all coming through, so go ahead.
So when I was doing the online document for the J1 visa, there is a question about where I'm going to live while I'm at AU. If I don't know yet, can I write AU's address? So number one, you really can't be applying for the J1 visa yet if you do not have that DS 2019 document, which again, you should have within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we hope. Secondly, yes, if you don't have your official address yet, you can put down the generic 4400 Massachusetts Avenue address.
All right, so the next question is, can you please repeat the areas that are close to the school?
Oh, sure. You mean for housing?
Yeah, so for the off-campus housing neighborhoods and the 2 apartment buildings, Sarah can read those back off to you.
Okay, so the 2 apartment buildings that I previously mentioned were the Berkshires. You might see them listed as the Berks, and then also the Avalon. The neighborhoods around AU will be Tenley or Tenley Town, Glover Park, Cleveland Park, Friendship Heights, and AU Park. If you're concerned at all about like a location, how far it is from school or anything like that, feel free to email us and we can give you a general idea of how long of the commute it might be or if it's in an area that you are concerned about.
All right, so going back to the offer for housing and whether or not you've received on-campus or off-campus housing, go back and read your acceptance letter very carefully. If you have a paragraph about a separate application being emailed to you, that means you have been offered on-campus housing. And BSET, I know for a fact that you were. So you were offered on-campus housing as stated in your acceptance email. But there will be a separate email with the application. That has not been sent to you yet because we are waiting for the final word from Housing and Dining that can be emailed out to you. I'm not sure, Alina, what your question means. Does this level mean something? Is it calculated? If you could maybe detail that out for us, we will answer that question. And so I'm going to move on to the next one. So how is the public transportation in DC? AU actually is pretty well located in terms of we have our own metro stop that's about I would say a mile off campus, and we have shuttles that run directly from campus to the metro stop. So that's going to be your underground metro, and that runs throughout the city. And then there's also a pretty robust bus system that runs right past campus or in Tenleytown, our neighboring neighborhood, that also brings you around campus. So with that said, public transportation is okay in DC. You'll have easy access to it. You get free access to it. As an AU student, you'll pay just a minimum fee as a mandatory university fee, and then you'll have access to ride the metro and the buses as much as you'd like during your semester or year here. But if you are planning on living far away from campus, it may be something to think about as far as public transportation goes, and we can answer any specific questions that you may have or direct you to more information about that.
So the next question is, if I have a travel visa valid for 10 years, do I still need a J1 visa? And the answer is yes. To study in the United States, you will need to have a valid student visa. So in this case, you'll need a J1 visa. You can't have a visitor visa.
No, you cannot legally study at a university on a travel visa because that visa is intended for travel.
Are we encouraged to sign up for courses that we've never done before? Desiree?
Yes, I would say yes, but I am not your academic advisor in terms of your home university. So I think, this could be an opportunity to take a class that maybe isn't offered. We have a lot of classes in what they call health and fitness. So you can actually take a yoga class for credit. You can take a dancing class or an acting class. So there is an opportunity, and it is your year abroad or semester abroad to maybe explore some new passions of yours or do something that is an elective course. And of course, we would encourage you to do that. Maybe learn a new language, something like that. However, as I said a few questions ago, we really do default those types of academic progress questions back to your home university, because we want to make sure that while you're having a good time at AU and you're enjoying the opportunity to study somewhere else, that you aren't going to go home and find that your semester didn't count properly for your degree. So that would just be what we would say for that one.
And Lena, thank you for clarifying. Does the level of a course influence the grade? So the level of the course is simply an indication of how difficult the course subject is. The higher levels will indicate that you have some kind of background in the course. So that being said, if you have no background in economics and you try to take a 300 level class, you're probably going to fail it.
But you also won't be approved to take it.
But you also wouldn't be approved to take it, exactly. So it won't influence the grade in that sense. However, if you don't have enough of a background, you're not going to do well in the higher level courses. There are probably going to be harder courses in that sense.
All right, so the next question is, if I took a course and after a few lessons decided that I actually would rather take another course, I think was what the question intended to say, is there a possibility to swap or something? So yes, within that first week of classes, we do have what we call the add drop period, and I mentioned that briefly when we were talking about waitlists. So you are able to go to your courses and figure out whether or not you want to take them for the whole semester. With that said, that is a brief period of time. So you can't get halfway through the semester and decide you want to drop a course because you need to be at 12 credits, and you'll have a withdrawal on your record if you were to leave the class. So within that first week, you do have an opportunity to kind of move your schedule around a little bit, but we do encourage you to try and finalize it as quickly as possible, just so that you're not behind in any work or taking up a spot from a student who does want to be in that class who's waiting on the wait list.
What is the difference when I can manually decide if the course should be graded or just pass-fail? Should we always choose graded? In general, we do suggest that you take the courses graded. A lot of institutions actually require you to do that, so you should check with your home institution. That said, even if you want to take a course pass-fail, your option is only to take one of the courses that semester as a pass-fail course anyway, you're not allowed to take your entire semester pass-fail. So that should really be a discussion between you and your academic advisor back home. But just to be clear, you would only be approved to do one class pass-fail anyway. Hitomi, about your Washington semester program question, you'll be on a J1 visa. You're in a very unique situation, and if you have specific questions, please email them to me, but you will be on a J1 visa. Any other questions? Alina, your question about renting a car and driving if you have a license, that may be an option. We generally, don't recommend it, just because driving rules are very different in the United States. But it is also, it can be expensive if you're under the age of 25. They charge, and number one, if you're under 21, they probably won't let you have a car. And if you're under the age of 25, they'll probably charge you a lot of money to rent that car.
All right, the next question, is it possible that we get rejected the J1 visa? So I wish I could say that no, but there is always that chance. It's very unlikely that if you follow all of the rules in your acceptance packet, and you have a clear record and you're doing what you're supposed to do, that you would get rejected. We very rarely have had students where they've had that problem. But again, what we're seeing as a trend for the United States is that it is becoming slightly more difficult to get in and to get approved, and it is also taking longer. So we really do encourage you, once you've received that acceptance packet, which we will be processing as soon as possible, that you do get started on that right away, so that you can go ahead, have your visa done, and you will be able to make sure that everything is settled early on so that everything is finished.
So there was a question, can we get a job in Washington, D.C. with a J1, or will we need a working visa? So you are able to work on campus for up to 20 hours per week, but you're only allowed to get a job on campus. There are plenty of jobs. If you really feel like you need one, there is the option of on-campus jobs. There's also a possibility that you may be qualified to do an internship, and we'll discuss this in depth once you get here, but those internships are really only for students who are studying what their internship is about. So for instance, if you are a marketing student and want to get a job in a marketing company and you're taking courses about marketing, you're more than likely to get approved for that. However, if you want to work in a restaurant and be a waitress, that won't be a possibility. And along those same lines, are internships a popular choice for students who only attend AU for 1 year? Yes, it's absolutely possible to do an internship for students who are here for 1 year. Typically, if you're here, most students choose to do it their second semester because you have a better understanding of what the classes are like and when you are and what type of time commitment is required of that.
Okay, I'm gonna let Jacob take the driving one, so I'll jump the next one real quick. How and when can we apply for on-campus jobs, and what kind of jobs do students get? So again, on the J1 visa, you are allowed to have a job on campus for up to 20 hours. There are a few available, but there aren't a ton. So that is something that you can be looking at online. We have some food options on campus. We have a student currently working at the library and a student currently working at the UPS store. If you want more information about that, please just email us and we can give you more details and let you know how to find that link to apply for jobs on campus.
Okay, so then the question, circling back to regarding driving, how easy is it to get your driver's license in or around Washington, D.C.? Not that easy, to be honest. There's different regulations in every state, and those are all going to be drastically different from your home country. So I would not recommend really looking into this because it is a very long, drawn-out process of taking lessons and passing tests. And if you're only going to be here for a semester or a year, there's definitely minimal time that even if you did follow through with all of that, that it would be useful to you. The best alternative I would suggest is that there is the possibility of obtaining an international driver's license, which you can do right from your home country. And those regulations, again, do vary from country to country about how to apply and be approved for an international driver's license. Although, historically speaking, if a student did want to rent a car for a long weekend or something like that, having a foreign driver's license has not been a major issue for them. So if you just wanted to do one weekend trip or something like that to rent a car, you shouldn't have a problem with a foreign driver's license, in my experience.
All right. Again, thank you so much to everyone for joining us today and for your great questions. We will be sending out a recording of this presentation, so please go back, watch any of the sections that you need to do if you don't remember what the answer was or what exactly your options were for off-campus housing or things like that. Please do take advantage of the recording and going back and using it as a resource for you. So again, thanks so much. We're super, super excited to have all of you in Washington, D.C. soon. I know it might feel far away now, but it's definitely going to fly by and we are looking forward to it. So have a great night or rest of your day, depending on where in the world you are. And we will be in communication with you soon via email. Around what date do the actual courses start? Great question. So your
August 28th.
classes start on Monday, August 28th, that week immediately following orientation. All right. Bye, everyone.